Nature of Man, Part 1, Chapter 6, Circles of Love. In this chapter, we are going to look at our circles of love and try to determine which circle most accords with the true nature of man. By circle of love, we mean that circle of persons which we place a premium of love on over and above others. So we have these concentric circles, and of course the smallest circle is the circle of the individual, and then the next circle, a little larger than the smallest, is the circle of the family, and then comes the circle of the nation, and after that the circle of humanity, and then the circle of the universe. The first circle of love we will consider is the individual. Our actions here are dependent on the simple maxim, what is good and right for me, without consideration for anyone else. There is an obvious drawback in this, in that one's action may be essentially selfish, without any regard to the effect it may have on others. There may be many examples of selfish persons known to us, and these persons are certainly not very popular. The effect of the actions of selfish persons, or persons whose concerns do not extend beyond themselves, are usually viewed negatively by other members of a family, or by society generally. It is not in man's true nature to be selfish, or to have his circle of love including only himself. Do we agree with this? The next circle of love is the family. The circle only considers what is good and right for the family over and above all others. Certainly this is more acceptable than the previous circle, but if one's concern extended to only the family, what would happen to the society? One's concern for family members are naturally given more priority than any other members of society. But if there is a great disparity in this, then it naturally leads to disharmony and disunity in the nation. This is unnatural to the nature of man, as it is not in man's true nature to have his circle of love only including his family. What about this? The next circle of love is the nation. No effort is spared by most nations to foster national pride. This is done by various means. When one's circle of love stops at the level of nation, and this circle is strengthened with great patriotic fervor, this fervor can lead to a lack of consideration for other nations. There is much evidence of discord between nations, both in the past and at present. This discord historically has led to, in many instances, bitter wars. There is also evidence of nations taking action without consideration for the welfare of other nations. I am sure you can think of examples of this. A circle of love that only includes people of one nation can certainly create discord and disharmony, and is certainly not in keeping with the true nature of man, for the creation of peace and unity. Do you agree with this? The next circle of love is humanity. It is certainly desirable that the welfare of all human beings be the desire of any person. This circle is admittedly larger than all previous circles. The care and well-being of humanity, to the exclusion of all other creatures or entities in creation, can lead to disharmony and imbalance, creating much disquiet in many human beings, and the circle of humanity is proving to be inadequate and not in keeping with man's true nature. What about this? Do you agree? Well, this circle of humanity is certainly, some members are certainly concerned about other creatures, about nature, about the earth itself. So we see very much the discussions on climate change and the extinction of other animals coming to the fore within the recent past. The final circle of love is the universe. Universal love is the most desirable, and this includes everything in the universe. There is no disharmony, disunity, or imbalance here, as the love expressed knows no bounds and is unlimited. Man's true nature is positively affected by universal love, and there is only the blissful condition existing. What about this? Well, we could certainly attest to this, that love which is universal in scope is the most desirable, which this condition creates the greatest happiness with men in society. So this must be the ultimate objective of all men. The recognition and appreciation of beauty is most sustainable if the love is universal. With universal love, beauty is seen in every object or phenomenon. Here is what Plato says in the Symposium regarding this condition. He who has been instructed in universal love and who has learned to see the beautiful in due order and succession, when he comes towards the end, will perceive a nature of wondrous beauty, a nature which in the first place is everlasting, knowing no birth or death, growth or decay. Secondly, not fair in one point of view or foul in another, but beauty absolute, existing with itself, simple and everlasting, which is imparted to the ever-growing and perishing beauties of all other beautiful things, without itself suffering diminution or increase of any change, It's taken from Symposium 212. Just read it again for clarity. He who has been instructed in universal love and who has learned to see the beautiful in due order and succession, when he comes towards the end, will perceive a nature of wondrous beauty, a nature which in the first place is everlasting, knowing not birth or death, growth or decay. Secondly, not fair in one point of view or foul in another, but beauty absolute, existing with itself, simple and everlasting, which is imparted to the ever-growing and perishing beauties of all other beautiful things, without itself suffering diminution or increase or any change. Quite a profound statement. In every chapter, the opportunity is given to practice the awareness exercise. This is the measure of importance that is placed on it. This practice is just as important as any knowledge that you may receive in this book, if you wish to grow in wisdom. So I urge you to practice not only here, but in your daily life. So we now engage in the awareness exercise. So let the mind become free of any concern or preoccupation. Let the mind fall still. Let the body fall still. Become aware of where you are now. Become aware of everything in the room in a general sense. Become aware of the feet on the floor. Become aware of the body seated on the chair. If the mind wavers, bring it back to stillness, without any concern or preoccupation. Become aware of the clothes on the skin. Become aware of the play of air on the face and hands. If your eyes are open, let it receive what it sees without any comment. Become aware of the sense of taste in the mouth. Become aware of the sense of smell. If the mind has wavered, bring it back to here and now. Become aware of hearing, of the immediate sounds, and then the furthest sounds. Receive them without judgment or comment of any kind. Finally, simply rest in this great awareness for a few moments. End. To be a person of universal love is a most desirable thing. Your enemies are few. Your relationships with your spouse, children, co-workers, neighbors, friends, and acquaintances are ideal. You are respected, loved, and even revered as people see you as a person of love and seek your company, advice, and counsel. This book on the nature of man is geared towards turning one's circle from individual to universal. This process is a practical proposition where readers are asked to practice what is suggested and determine for themselves if it is useful in their lives. This course requires you to do the following to turn individual love into universal love. These are: test for yourself all that has been suggested herein. Reflect on the contents of the book from time to time. Practice the practices suggested regularly. Observe the results. Testing for yourself means for the participant neither accept nor reject what is presented here. If you find it useful, then incorporate it in your daily life. You are also asked to look back every so often at what has been presented in the book and reflect again on its meaning. You will find that each time you reflect, there will be a different and deeper meaning. Most importantly, you must genuinely practice the awareness exercise every day. So these videos are to be, stored in a file and are to be returned to from time to time. Have a look at them. They're not very long, so that reflection on its contents is easy. And you will find that there's a different meaning every time you listen to each video. But most of all, practice the awareness exercise daily. It's a very simple but very profound exercise. The process above will increase understanding, not through the accumulation of information, but by training the mind to go deeper, to penetrate and perceive. By going deeper, we become more aware, and the more we discover what makes the human being more humane, our true nature is discovered. So I'll just read this again. The process above will increase understanding, not through the accumulation of information, but by training the mind to go deeper, to penetrate and perceive. By going deeper, we become more aware, and the more we discover what makes the human being more humane, our true nature is discovered. Before I close this chapter, listen to a statement by Albert Einstein, the famous 20th century scientist, what he had to say. A human being is part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts, and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty. Just read it again for clarity. Very poignant statement. A human being is part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty. So engage with this chapter for the next week. Engage with this chapter for the next week. Reread and carry out the practices prescribed herein. And of course, send your comments and questions to nigelgittins@gmail.com, and they will be responded to promptly. Have a great week.